So today we got several new terms: adjacent, complementary, supplementary. I bet you've heard some of these words before. Do you know what the word adjacent means? Adjacent means next to each other. So adjacent angles are angles next to each other. Right next to each other. They're actually so close that they share a common side. So if I were to draw a picture of that looked like this, I'd get two adjacent angles. So like here, this green angle is going to be adjacent to the purple angle. And you see that they're so close that they actually share a common side. So like here, the adjacent angles in number 1 are angle 1 and angle 2. So close that they're right next to each other. Here, it's these two angles. I'm not saying that they're equal, angle ABD and angle DBC. I'm just saying that they're next to each other. This picture actually has a lot of adjacent angles, so I'm going to number these angles 1, 2, 3, and 4, so I don't have to name them with 3 letters. And then you see a lot of adjacent angle pairs, like angle 1 and angle 2 are next to each other, angle 2 and angle 3, angle 3 and angle 4, and angle 4 and angle 1. All those pairs of angles are next to each other. So adjacent angles next to each other. The next term is complementary angles. Have you heard of complementary angles? Complementary angles add up to, do you know? You're right, 90 degrees. Angles that add up to 90 degrees are called complementary. They don't have to be adjacent or next to each other, but most of the time they are. So you're going to see a picture like that a lot of times, two angles that add up to a right angle. So here in this picture, I recognize again that angle 1 and angle 2 are not only adjacent, but they add up to 90. This one's a little bit harder. You see that 90-degree angle. Well, what that means is that next door is automatically also a 90-degree angle. This gives me angle GLH and angle HLJ. Those two angles there and there also add to 90. Remember when we said that complementary angles don't have to be next to each other. So here I see a 30 and here I see a 60. Those both add up to 90. I covered my letter there, S. So this is going to be angle RTS and angle UWV. Those also add to 90. When angles add up to 90, sometimes we can write like a little equation to solve it. So the angle that we're looking for here, x, is this angle ZXW, and I know that x plus 26 is going to equal 90. And you could just solve that by subtracting 26 from both sides, 64 degrees. Similarly here, x plus 57 equals 90, and you could subtract 57 from both sides. X equals 33 degrees. Now you might say, I didn't really need an equation to solve those. You probably could have just solved those in your head, but when you get to number 9, you definitely need an equation. These two angles add up to 90, so your equation is x minus 4 plus 3x plus 2 equals 90. Or 4x minus 2 equals 90. Now, I'm okay if you add 2 to both sides in your head. Similarly, if you divide by 4 both sides on a calculator or in your head, x is 23. And it was nice. I didn't have to plug that back in. Complementary. Well, complementary and supplementary are kind of similar where they both add up to something. Complementary adds up to 90. Do you know what supplementary adds up to? You are right. Supplementary adds up to 180. And we know that 180 degrees is a lot of times a straight line. So if we have two angles that make a straight line, they will always be supplementary. So here in this picture, angle 3 and angle 4 are supplementary. This one's a little bit a trickier picture. Like there's several pairs of supplementary angles. I'm going to say angle ABE is supplementary to angle EBC. In other words, these two angles, kind of ignoring that ray BD, are supplementary. And then just like complementary angles don't have to be adjacent, don't have to be next to each other, neither do supplementary. So angle QTS and angle UWV are also supplementary, also add up to 180. Again, we're going to find the missing angle here, angle 3. We can call it X, and we know that those two angles add up to 180. If I subtract 41 from both sides, I get 139. You might not have needed an equation, but you're going to need an equation here when you have to add up these two expressions to equal 180, or 5x minus 30 equals 180. We've solved so many algebra questions that you can really add 30 to both sides in your head. I'm going to say 5x equals 210. Divide by 5 in your head or on a calculator and get 42. Now I'm going to plug that 42 back in. 2 times 42 plus 1 is how I get 85. And if I plug it in here, 3 times 42 minus 31 is how I get 95. And that's kind of our hardest one. So we did one more like this. Now if you would like, to combine like terms out of the gate, you could say 5x plus 8x is how I got 13x. Negative 22 and positive 46 is plus 24 equals 180. Subtract 24 from both sides, and then if I divide both sides by 13, x equals 12. Just like before, I got to plug that 12 in. So 5 times 12 is 60. 60 minus 22 is how I got 38. And if I plug it in here, 12 times 8 is 96. 96 plus 46, 192. So supplementary adds to 180, complementary adds to 90. And one way I remember that is C comes before S in the alphabet, and 90 comes before 180. C comes before S, 90 comes before 180. So that's how you can remember those. And then adjacent always means next to.